This video is brought to you by Game Maker. Stick around to the end to find out more. A topic of conversation I often see popping up around every Soulslike game that's announced or released these days is Soulslike fatigue. When we review them, comment sections lament yet another Souls game, and content creators make videos talking about how there's just too many of them, or that's the latest trend developers are chasing. And personally, I think it's mostly a non-issue. It's true that, for a while now, the industry hasn't exactly been creating a lot of traditional action games, or spectacle fighters as Yahtzee likes to call them, which we used to see on the regular. Many have forgone the spectacle and I suppose more arcadey feel that we used to get from the original God of War games, Dante's Inferno, Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, and so many others in favor of more grounded experiences. This is probably best exemplified by the shift that God of War made with its 2018 reboot, which has inspired many other games since. And thankfully, it does seem like we are getting a bit of a revival in the spectacle fighter genre with games like Tides of Annihilation, Ninja Gaiden 4, Morbid Metal, Homura Hime, and plenty more, particularly from the indie scene. The other flavor of action games being made now are Soulslikes, a genre that most people associate with punishingly difficult games that only people who like bashing their head against concrete walls over and over again get any enjoyment out of. I'll concede that games in the genre often follow a lot of the same formula: dark and grotesque worlds focused on misery and death, stories that amount mostly to obscure lore that you need YouTubers to explain to you rather than a coherent narrative. And of course, as many nasty looking bosses as the developers can cook up, often with a focus on a lot of hair for some reason. Seriously, Souls games that love bosses with lots of hair. I don't know why. Maybe a topic for Design Delve. I totally understand the reactions people have about Souls-like games just from the aesthetics alone. It's like seeing yet another colorful and cartoony hero shooter in a showcase and thinking, haven't we played this before? The games industry loves its trends, and right now, the Souls-like genre is the big trend to chase for a lot of developers. And the good ones are selling well, so you can't really blame them. Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers just debuted to over 100,000 active players on Steam at launch, despite appropriately critical user reviews for its performance issues on PC. Lies of P has sold over 3 million units. The Lords of the Fallen reboot has sold over 1 million units. Black Myth Wukong. You can be pedantic in the comments about whether it's a Souls-like or not, but it very clearly shares a lot of the same design trends. Sold a whopping 25 million units. The genre could use more variety, that's definitely a true statement. I recently watched this video to see what upcoming Souls-likes are on the way over the next few years. And if you remove the titles and just stitched all the footage together, it'd be pretty hard to tell the difference between a lot of them. What makes Souls-like so endearing for me isn't the tough-as-nails combat, or the often incredible visuals and boss fights, but the discovery, learning, and exploration that the best games in the genre provide. When a Souls-like's level design clicks for you, it's hard to put the game down after that, as you search every nook and cranny for upgrade materials, secret paths, optional areas, new weapons, and of course, boss fights you might not otherwise experience. As long as I'm enjoying exploring and discovering, I'm more than willing to put up with the punishing boss fights to keep going. It's a wonderful feedback loop that makes you constantly feel like you're actually progressing through the game, rather than just getting stuck at a single boss and no longer being able to continue forward. After having played so many of the different Souls-likes now, the ones I would consider best in class are the games that best exemplify this type of design. The reboot of Lords of the Fallen, and Atria the Last Song, and most recently, Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers, yes, I also like Lies of P before you yell at me, are my favorite non-From Software Souls-likes. They're not perfect, and people have very valid reasons for disliking them, but even when I got stuck at a boss in these games, I wanted to keep playing because they were designed in ways that never made me feel completely roadblocked. The best Souls-likes have worlds that make you want to go back and explore further when you get stuck and reward you for doing so. I think that's where a lot of people who haven't broken into the genre yet bounce off. Games in other genres are often designed around constant forward progression, while Souls-likes test your patience by asking you to take your time in their worlds and be willing to halt your forward momentum. Boss fights aren't about button mashing, but learning patterns. One of the things I often do when fighting a boss is just intentionally let it kill me a few times just so I can get the hang of the dodging or parrying patterns rather than trying to beat it on my first try. One of the hardest lessons to learn when playing a Souls-like is overcoming the frustration of failure. The way they make failure part of the learning process and general loop of the game is one of the reasons I keep coming back to the genre. Every person that plays Souls-likes will tell you there's an addicting rush of adrenaline you get from finally beating that boss that's been pummeling you for hours, because you spent the time preparing for it. That's the reward at the end of the Souls-like gameplay loop, and then you repeat the process over and over again as you move through these intricately designed worlds. As a fan of the genre though, I also want to see developers do more than just keep trying to be the next Dark Souls. In general, I think this is where the fatigue for the Souls-like genre resides, just as it would in any other genre where developers keep repeating the same aesthetics over and over again. Hero shooter genre. Not every Souls-like needs to be a dark fantasy game in a rotting, post-apocalyptic world. The genre definitely could use more variety in visuals and tone, with different takes on how the story is delivered to the player. There's no reason we can't have a Souls-like game that delivers a well-told cinematic story, give me actual puzzles to solve rather than just releasing a ladder to complete the level loop, or adds elements from different genres to vary up the gameplay experience. How about you let me actually farm the souls I need to level up? Actually, I'm trademarking that one. Visually, give me a Souls-like that looks like Hi-Fi Rush, Sifu, Sea of Stars, or the incredibly stylish upcoming beat-em-up Dead as Disco. There's all kinds of ways developers can keep the genre fresh for fans and non-fans alike without abandoning what makes it work. Another Crab's Treasure showed you can take big swings with the traditional genre aesthetic and people will still show up for it, as it sold over 500,000 copies, which is huge for the small indie studio at Aggro Crab. The game was such a breath of fresh air for a lot of people who enjoy the genre, a completely unique take visually, tonally, and mechanically, while also exemplifying the design traits that make the genre so successful. I think once developers get more experimental with the expectations of the genre, any discussion of fatigue within it will be wiped away as fast as a new Souls player experiencing the Pursuer for the first time in Dark Souls 2.
This video is brought to you by GameMaker. And if you've ever wanted to get into game development, GameMaker does this really crazy thing where it's free. Just start making and only pay when you want to release your game to the world commercially.
It's fast, it's user-friendly, and there's easy-to-follow tutorials, plus a dedicated community to help answer even my questions. How make man jump? GameMaker is a 2D game engine that's helped bring some of yours and my favorite recent experiences to life, like UFO 50, Chicory, Anton Blast, and of course, Yahtzee's own Starstruck Vagabond.
Ooh, we talking about GameMaker? I love that program, it's so easy to use. As well as Starstruck Vagabond, I also used it to make all 12 projects in my 12 games in 12 months Dev Diary challenge. And I couldn't believe how much sex I got out of that. None. I got none at all. Which I couldn't believe.
So what are you waiting for? Head on over to the GameMaker link in the description and start cracking away today, because we want to play your game.
Yeah, looking through this list, I'm seeing one of you made Armpit Fart Tycoon, and I've got several questions for you.